So welcome to part 4 and the final part of the workshop on effortless abundance. I call this segment Effortless Abundance Full Time. And the reason why I do that is because it's a new way of being in the world. It becomes hopefully your default setting. So you're choosing your frequency. And most of the time you simply choose your frequency whenever you think of it. Definitely at the beginning of the day. And throughout the day, whenever you think of it, or whenever something happens to knock you off balance a bit. It can be as simple as something boiling over on the stove and making a mess, or running late all day and feeling frustrated about that, or having someone in your home or in your workspace who is in a bad mood, who is angry about something or upset about something. Any of these things can knock us off of the frequency that we would like to be on. And when things like that happen, it's pretty easy for us to bring ourselves back. We simply realize, oh, you know what? I'm not where I was choosing to be. I've gotten knocked off of that. Take a nice deep breath. Go into your heart and just choose again. Just choose calm or peace or joy or unconditional love. It's hard sometimes when you're at work to be running unconditional love. But when you're at home, definitely you can do that. Driving on the bus, the commuter train, those are great places to run unconditional love. At work it might be more peace or calm or joy, but the point is that you become aware of your energy and you make choices about how you'd like it to be and just make that switch. Even if it only lasts for 5 minutes, you can always switch it again later. If something happens, you get really busy and distracted and you forget about it, that's okay. Later on you'll just bring it back and choose again. But there's another kind of experience that can change your frequency. Something that triggers you into an emotional response. Something that upsets you, really upsets you. Or you find yourself anxious, you find yourself feeling fear. That type of thing. These are bigger emotional responses that need a different way of being treated by you. They're going to take a little more time. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of time, but they will need more time. I'm going to give an example from my own experience. But first I just want to say that when these kinds of triggers or upsets come up and we become upset, we don't need to feel like we failed in holding a high vibration. We don't need to feel like we're no good at this or something like that. Because these things come up because we're choosing abundance, because we're choosing to be aware of where we're at, because we're choosing to be empowered, anything that gets in the way of that, gets in the way of abundance, gets in the way of feeling empowered, gets in the way of our well-being, will come up so that we can become aware of it and then clear it, release it the way we released in the third section, the way we released just a little while ago. So when things come up, our first response is usually, ew, yuck, this is horrible, I feel horrible. But we can actually change that to, oh, okay, I get to clear this now. It's one less thing that's going to be there as a trigger for me. Speaking from my own experience, we actually do clear things and end up with less triggers and less things that upset us. At first it seems like there's just so many things that that's never going to happen, but it actually goes fairly quickly. And we become more and more able to hold the higher vibrational frequencies that bring us into a life of effortless abundance, because we've cleared those beliefs, those fears, those doubts, those triggers that take us out of those higher vibrational frequencies. So I want to give an example. I was out walking, doing my daily walk, and I heard my own self kind of say to me, as I often receive messages from my soul, I heard the message, allow yourself to be supported. I had been feeling a bit overwhelmed with work and things that had to be done, and I just heard this message, allow yourself to be supported. And I burst into tears. My response was totally emotional, total emotional outburst. Walking down the road, crying my eyes out. When something like this happens, it's a really clear sign to us that we're working with something in us that needs to be seen. There's a part of us that we haven't acknowledged. So I took the time, as I was walking, actually, to run the process that I gave you in the last segment of the workshop. Once you've run that process a few times for yourself, you can do it fairly quickly, and I was able to do it as I was walking along. By the time I got home, I was feeling very differently than I had been when I burst into tears. Of course, to experience effortless abundance, we need to allow ourselves to be supported, to feel supported. Not by anyone, not by any institution, but by the grace of Creator, the perfection of all that is. In fact, the essence of effortless abundance is to allow ourselves to be supported, to allow ourselves to receive. If that emotional mess that was in me hadn't come up to be released, it would have stayed there, and I was not aware of it. I was not conscious of it at all until I burst into tears. So it's very important when something happens and upsets you to pay attention to it. It's actually a gift that you are giving to yourself to help you to a life of ease and grace and joy. So there's a difference between some little thing that happens, or you just get really busy and you can't hold your frequency. You change to a frequency of feeling overwhelmed or feeling tired. There's a difference between that and having an emotional response to something that really is larger than the situation would seem to warrant. That's when you know that you've hit something. You've hit a nice little mess for you to clear up within yourself. So when these things happen, or if you constantly avoid something because thinking about it brings anxiety into you, go for it. Think about it, feel the anxiety, clear the anxiety. If you keep avoiding it, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go away. In fact, it's going to come more and more and more into your space, into your experience, because it's asking you to look at it. So I want to talk about releasing, and I just basically want to say to use the method that I gave in the third segment. That's such a powerful process. Use that method. Repeating. This is to clear things that are upsetting you or blocking you. This is not for just the little day-to-day stuff that you just need to reset your frequency. This is for the big stuff. Use that method. Go into your heart center. Find your truth. Find what is your truth in that moment. It might be, I have anxiety about this. I'm anxious. I'm scared that I won't be able to handle this. It might be something like that. It might be, I don't want to be alone. Whatever it is, the most important thing is to face it and then to use the technique. Say it out loud, your truth. Take a nice deep breath. Bring unconditional love into your heart. And send that unconditional love to the part of you for whom that is true. And let yourself receive it. And then say it again. Again, take a nice deep breath. Call up that frequency of unconditional love from your heart and send it to yourself. It is as if you were speaking to your own child or your best friend, the person whom you're closest to in the world, the person whom you love with all your heart. And they were saying that truth to you. And you want to respond with the highest, wisest, best part of you that you possibly can. And that is unconditional love. And you keep saying it and then receiving the unconditional love for the part of you that believes that to be true until it is no longer true for any part of you. You have released it. And when something's really scary, because most of the time we're actually afraid of our fear. We're so afraid of our fear that we don't want to face our fear. Not necessarily even the thing that we are afraid of, but our fear itself. We're afraid to face our fear itself. And I've had to do that. I was all alone, no one around. I was in a place where I didn't really know anybody, so there wasn't anybody I could really call on. It was late at night, so I couldn't really call a friend. And I was so afraid that I was shaking. My whole body was shaking. I was having a panic attack, an attack of my own fear. And what happens is that the minute you face it, you say, okay, I'm just going to look right at you, because there's nothing else I can do here, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look right at you. The minute you do that, all of a sudden it's much, much smaller. That was what I realized in that experience. And then in other experiences, I had the same, it was the same kind of experience. So I realized, it's part of me, this fear, so it can't possibly be any bigger than I am. It's part of me. So when you face it, it becomes much more manageable and much smaller. You can bring it down to, again, a phrase that is your truth. You being willing and having the courage to say it out loud changes everything. Right there. And then going into your heart and coming out with the unconditional love from your heart on your breath, on the exhale, and sending it to that part of you that is that fear, that is afraid in that way. Or if it's rage, or if it's hurt, or if it's grief, no matter what it is. This is a powerful technique. It's not just issues around abundance that can be transformed by this process. And when you do this for yourself, you empower yourself tremendously. So what we tend to do is we tend to avoid and run away from and deny and repress these fears and these other strong emotions, and they don't go away. They stay there making all kinds of trouble for us until we get to the point where we go to a professional and we pay money either to the professional or for meds to try to deal with the situation. Instead, we can work with ourselves in this way. If you're currently taking meds for depression or anxiety, don't stop unless you consult with your healthcare professional. But if you are choosing to empower yourself, this is a process that is deeply and consistently empowering. When I work with my clients, I teach them this process so that they won't need me anymore. I've always been really good at getting myself out of work by empowering other people. I would much rather that my clients were able to do this for themselves than asked me to do it for them, because that's just giving your power away. Take a breath. As you clear anxieties, doubts, fears, issues of self-worth, limiting beliefs about the world around you, it will become easier and easier and more just your default setting for you to be in the frequency of abundance, the frequency of joy, the frequency of unconditional love, which, as I said earlier, is the mother lode of frequencies. Unconditional love feels great. When we hold it in our hearts, it feels amazing. It feels wonderful. Gratitude, joy, appreciation, love, all of these higher vibrational choices feel really good. And when you choose your frequency, I'm going to suggest that you choose it for the sake of experiencing that frequency, not because if you hold that frequency, you'll get this, that, or the other thing. You'll get a new car, or you'll get more money, or you'll get a better job. Or it's not that you won't get those things, it's that holding the frequency for the sake of holding the frequency puts you in a whole new ball game in a way. And that is the essence of effortless abundance. Abundance is a state of being. Abundance is not things. What you'll find in the world these days is there are people who hoard, there are people who are compulsive shoppers, there are people who are workaholics, there are people who compulsively exercise and eat only these foods and never these other foods. There's all kinds of examples in the world around us of people focusing on the externals in order to feel better. I know someone who's addicted to bargains, and literally their whole life, every day, is focused on bargains, getting a good bargain, saving money by buying something, which doesn't always make sense, but there you have it. And it's just a short skip, hop, and a jump from that to becoming a shopaholic or a hoarder. Abundance is a state of being. And when you hold the frequency of abundance, the frequency of unconditional love, which wants for nothing, It's impossible when you're holding unconditional love as your frequency in your heart to want anything to change in any way. Everything is absolutely perfect exactly as it is. Everything. That is heaven on earth. When you're in that state, it may not last for more than a minute or two or a second or two, but if you experience it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When you choose frequency because of how wonderful it feels, you put yourself into that state of grace, and you'll feel amazing. And then the abundance simply comes to you, and a week or so goes by and you realize, wow, my life is going really, really well. Just wanted to say one more thing about this, that when you hold these frequencies, you're putting more of that you are into the world. So if you're running the frequency of unconditional love as your frequency, you're putting more unconditional love into the world. When you run the frequency of gratitude or peace or acceptance of what things are, non-judgment, you're putting more of that into the world. And that's a good thing. You know, there are various ways to clear negative beliefs, limiting beliefs, imbalances. There are many wisdom traditions and New Age practices that talk about how to clear these things. I really prefer the one that I've given you here, because when you practice that, you are running the frequency of unconditional love. And you're giving that to yourself, and you're giving that to the world. Because when you give it to yourself, you're giving it to the world. There's no boundary between you and everything else. When you give it to yourself, it overflows from you out into your surroundings. And what you'll find is that you end up being wise and kind, with others, tolerant, patient, accepting, non-judgmental. So this isn't just about your own experience of effortless abundance, but also about making the world that we live in a place where there is more love, more light, more joy, more gratitude, more peace. So before we close here, I just want to run with you one more time that process for bringing unconditional love into your heart and into your energy field. So just get comfortable. Make sure that your legs and arms are not crossed. In other words, your body is in an open position. Focus on your heart center. That part of your body where your heart is, your upper chest there. And as you inhale, fill your heart with golden light of unconditional love. And as you exhale, breathe that into your mind. And then as you inhale, fill your heart again with golden light of unconditional love. And as you exhale, breathe that golden light into your emotional being. And as you inhale, fill your heart with the golden light of unconditional love. And as you exhale, breathe that golden light into your physical body. And take a couple of breaths to do this. Make sure it goes into every cell of your body. Just imagine all your cells being filled with golden light, filled with unconditional love, right down to your toes, your fingertips, right up to the top of your head, the back of your head, and the back of your body, your shoulder blades. Inhale, fill your heart with golden light that is unconditional love, and send that light out into your energy field. All your chakra, your aura, your energy field. So I just want to mention my gratitude to you for being a part of this, for taking the time to experience this. And to invite you to experience all that I have to offer through my various websites. There are inspirational books to help you to bring yourself to a more joyful life, as well as collections of poetry and novels. There are poems and beautiful photographs of the natural world. There is my own very honest chronicle of my journey to joy. I offer private sessions of intuitive counseling, light language transmissions for healing and clearing blockages, that's another way to do it, and other services. And I also have a YouTube channel with songs and this workshop and all kinds of things on it. And all of this can be accessed from my main website at www.beautifultangle.wordpress.com. May effortless abundance be your experience of life, as it is mine.